Over 1 million people have signed a petition demanding an end to one of the most frustrating trends in modern gaming. Publishers shutting down games that people already paid for. It's called the Stop Killing Games campaign, and it's got serious momentum. So why do I think it's going to fail? Because it's going up against legal contracts, corporate profits, and political systems that were never built to protect digital ownership. This video isn't about taking sides. In fact, I support what they're trying to achieve. I just don't think the current strategy will work. Let me explain why this campaign probably won't get the result people are hoping for, and what we could do instead to actually change things. Everyone's talking about the numbers. Over 1 million verified EU citizens signed the Stop Killing Games petition, and that triggered a formal response from the European Commission. It sounds like a victory, but here's the catch. This wasn't a law. It wasn't even a legal challenge. It was submitted through something called the European Citizens' Initiative, or ECI. That system allows people in the EU to propose new laws, but it doesn't actually force anyone to create them. What the EU has to do now is simple. Read the petition, respond politely, and then they can ignore it. This campaign has made a lot of noise, but that doesn't guarantee results. In politics, awareness isn't the same as action. Let's talk about the people who have the most to lose if this campaign succeeds. Game publishers. Companies like Ubisoft, EA, Activision, the usual suspects. They're represented in Europe by a powerful industry group called Video Games Europe, and they've already started pushing back. They claim that keeping old games alive through offline modes, private servers, or open access to the code would be too expensive, too risky, and too disruptive. In their words, it would make games prohibitively expensive to create. But here's the real reason they're panicking. The modern games industry is built on control. They control the servers. They control the platforms. They control how and when you get to play the thing you paid for. If a law forced them to give up that control, it's not just annoying, it's a threat to their entire business model. And trust me, they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that doesn't happen. Even if somehow the EU agreed to the campaign's demand, even if politicians lined up in support, there's still one enormous problem standing in the way. The EULA, the End User License Agreements. These are the contracts you accept every time you buy or install a game. They say in plain English, you don't own the game, you're just renting a license to use it, and that license can be taken away at any time. Ubisoft's EULA, for example, says that they can revoke your access without warning. No refunds, no appeal, just gone. And the courts have backed that up. In both Europe and the US, judges have consistently ruled that digital games are not sold, they're licensed. That means even if a new law says you should have access to what you bought, the end user license agreement might still override it. It's a legal trap, and most players don't even know they've walked into it. Here's the harshest truth in this entire video. Killing games makes money. That's why publishers do it. That's why they'll keep doing it. And that's why they're going to fight this campaign with everything they've got. Running servers costs money. Keeping old systems online, more money. But shutting down a game, that drives players towards newer products, sequels, remakes, reboots. It clears the board for the next cash cow. Just look at Overwatch. Blizzard shut down the original game, even if you owned it, and I did, and replaced it with Overwatch 2. No choice, no way back. Ubisoft did the same with The Crew. Not only was it pulled from sale, they disabled it completely, even the single player mode. That wasn't a mistake. That was the plan. The business model behind most modern games depends on end-of-life shutdowns, so expecting these companies to suddenly switch sides and embrace preservation? It's not going to happen. Now let's talk about the UK. A separate petition was launched here, and it also did well, crossing 100,000 signatures. That means Parliament has to debate it. It sounds good on paper, but here's the reality. The UK doesn't have strong consumer protection laws for digital games, and post-Brexit, it's under no obligation to follow any EU legislation, even if the EU somehow makes progress on this issue. In short, the UK petition will start a debate, but it's unlikely to lead to any meaningful legal reform. It's more awareness, not action. Now here's where things get real. For a campaign like this to succeed, it needs more than signatures. It needs a legal team, a political strategy, a legislative path. Right now, as far as I know, it doesn't yet have any of those things, but I stand to be corrected. Stop Killing Games is a grassroots movement, led by Ross Scott, a passionate and talented creator. But as far as I know, there's no law firm fighting this in court, no cross-border coalition of consumer watchdogs, no formal legal proposal. Compare that to how the GDPR happened, aka the General Data Protection Regulation. It's a European Union law that came into effect on the 25th of May 2018, and it's one of the strictest privacy and data protection laws in the world. That took years of legal prep, internal EU lobbying, and coordinated public pressure. Stop Killing Games hasn't reached that level. Not yet. And until it does, it's just a message, not a movement with teeth. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not here to trash the campaign. In fact, it's already done something incredibly important. It's made digital ownership a mainstream issue. Gamers everywhere are asking better questions. What am I really buying? Can this be taken away? What happens when servers go down? That kind of awareness changes how people think and how they buy. We've seen big channels and public figures step in, as well as a lot of online media coverage. Even if the law doesn't change, the culture already is, and that matters. Let's say the big petition doesn't lead to new laws, and publishers keep fighting tooth and nail to shut games down. That doesn't mean we give up, it means we shift our focus to realistic, achievable wins, things that aren't currently guaranteed by law, but absolutely should be. Here's what we should be fighting for in my opinion. Require offline modes or patches for single player content when a game shuts down. There is no legal requirement for publishers to do this in any major region. Some developers do it voluntarily, others don't. That needs to change. Enforce proper shutdown warnings and store disclosures. No legal requirement exists for how much notice a publisher has to give. Some games disappear in days with no refund. Players deserve clarity before they buy. Legally support digital preservation archives. Groups like the Internet Archive and Video Game History Foundation exist, but they operate in legal grey zones. Preservation should be protected and funded. Label online-only games properly. Right now, there is no consistent way to know if a game will die when the servers go. Storefronts should mark these games clearly, so buyers know the risk. These aren't massive demands. They're not impossible, and if we focus on them, we might actually win something. So thanks for watching, and just to be clear, this isn't me being negative for the sake of it. I actually support what the Stop Killing Games campaign is trying to do. I think if you buy a game, especially one with solo content, you should always be able to play it. That's fair, that's logical, that's common sense. But I also think we need to be realistic. The legal system, the business model, and the fine print we all accept without reading, they're not on our side. So no, I don't think this campaign will work the way people hope, but that doesn't mean it's pointless. It's starting conversations, it's raising awareness, it's doing something, and that something might just grow into real change. So here's my final question to you. What's the one game you love that you're scared might disappear forever? For me, it would possibly be World of Warcraft. Drop yours in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.